WWE Crown Jewel went down from Saudi Arabia. In the main event, it was Cody Rhodes taking on Gunther. But before that, we had quite the show to look at. We start with the Bloodline. It was the Bloodline against new against old, or whatever it was, however you want to market it. It was a match that never really fully got into that next gear that I thought they could have. And it was a little bit of a reminder that while the Bloodline storyline was amazing, and the last match with Cody and all of that was just perfection and a whole wrestle fest that everyone loved. There were a lot of matches where it was like, okay, we're not looking for 5 stars here. We're advancing stories. And that's what this one was. And I think that it advanced the story really, really well. And so from a television episodic standpoint, yeah, no, this was excellent. If we're just following this along, when Conrad Thompson and Bruce Pritchard break this down 6 years from now, we're not going to be looking back at this match and going like, oh my God, you have to go back and check this match out. But in the capsule of this story, it was perfection. It was exactly what they needed. I think that the story gets advanced really well, and I am very curious to see what comes out of Roman taking the pin with this. I think that is a wrinkle that not a whole lot of us were expecting. If we thought that the new Bloodline was going to get the win, it was probably going to be it was probably going to be a situation where like a Jay gets pinned or something like that. But for Roman to take those Samoan spikes from Solo and get the win, I think is going to be an interesting storyline detail here. The Sammy part with him kicking Roman is going to add a little bit of resistance on that side of things. And so we'll talk about Raw in part 2 of the podcast coming out later on today here on Tuesday. But overall, I thought that this was, from a storyline standpoint, advanced everything perfectly. Women's tag team match. This one was actually a lot of fun. The finish, you kind of knew who was going to win this one, but I thought everyone involved kind of had a pretty good showing and really did not, it's not one of those ones where it's like everyone in this match is now elevated, but like they are, just maybe not to the extremes that some of those other matches would have provided when we've talked about that in the past. Seth Rollins against Bronson Reed. This match was a lot of fun. A little surprised Seth got the win. And then immediately after, they're like, well, Bronson Reed proved he's a main eventer. It's like, I understand that's what we were going for. If you wanted to get that across, I think you need him to win. And I get like the follow-up on Raw. It kind of justifies like A, Seth being in that match, B, Bronson coming out and doing the big attack on him and all of those things. And so this was obviously not a blow-off or anything like that. Like, this is a feud that is going to continue now. But having commentary say that right after is a little jamming it down our throatsy. And that is what got them in trouble 6-7 years ago with all of that, where everyone just kind of turned on everything they were trying to do because it was so obvious what they were trying to do. This Bronson Reed thing has a lot of people excited, and I think there is a main eventer in that guy, for sure I do. But to just come out and say, well, he's proven that he belongs in the main event now, it's like, well, he did lose. So let's wait for him to win one before we can start doing that. Like, I feel like we need to kind of let the story progress before we're getting to that point. So it felt a little bit forced. And I understand it's wrestling, it's all forced, but that one felt just like a little bit like you are trying to handhold us into loving this guy when we kind of already do. So just chill, my guy. Just chill. We'll be okay. Liv Morgan against Nia Jax. This one was a miss for me. It was 2 heels, so already that was a little bit tough. But then you have Tiffany and Nia and that whole thing happening. And it kind of went in the face of the Tiffany Nia stuff from before, where she was saying, oh, I'll cash in on Liv. It'll be fine. It's going to be all right. Like, I'm going to do my cash in, but it's going to be on Liv. And then there was I'll cash in on both of you. Who knows? And then when Tiffany came out and Nia's like, well, what are you doing? And Tiffany like backs away. It's like, Tiffany's been saying this whole time she's cashing in on Liv, and then maybe a bit of I'll cash in on both of you. B, why is Tiffany backing away? Like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, no, you got someone in there. I can do that. Like, if both of them came at her, then there's like a something there. But I thought that this, from a story standpoint, didn't make a whole lot of sense and didn't really tie everything in. It kind of, look, it's not the worst failed cash-in of someone who's had Money in the Bank, and she still has it. But in terms of making Tiffany feel like one of the next actual title contenders, this wasn't it. And so it kind of made everyone feel worse, and it just added a bit of a ugh to the match that didn't need to be there. The Kevin Owens Randy Orton brawl was fun. Really interesting to see that there was some physicality on Adam Pearce and what comes from that, because I feel like he has been so protected that this should lead to something, right? And I think should probably, I don't think there's going to be an Adam Pearce Randy Orton match or anything like that, but I wonder if you get because you put your hands on a WWE official, Randy Orton, you are now suspended. And then he goes away for a little bit, and at WWE Event X, Randy Orton comes back, and oh my, here's a heel turn on Cody Rhodes. And now Randy Orton and Kevin Owens are back together, but in a bad guy sort of a way. With Randy being like, you guys tried to warn me, and then you sent me away for just being myself, and you guys made me this monster, or something like that. They can fill in the blanks. That wasn't perfect, but you know where I'm trying to go with that. LA Knight against Andrade against Carmelo. This was good. I thought all three guys put on their best showing. Obviously, Andrade and Carmelo are really, really fun to watch. And then LA Knight was LA Knight. Like, he is... I don't know how many people are going to be like, oh, yes, no, classic wrestling, phenomenal tactician LA Knight is going out there and keeping up in a lucha-based match, with two incredible high flyers. No one was expecting that, but LA Knight played the role of LA Knight and kind of the base in this match very, very well, and he comes away with a good win. The one thing now is there needs to be, I think, a significant building up of the mid-card on SmackDown right now. It just feels like on Raw, they did a really good job of building up the IC division, I guess, for lack of a better term. And now you need to do that again on SmackDown, because you've kind of just like killed off, for lack of a better term, two of your better challengers that you've been spending a lot of time building up. And now I don't know who is next for him. So that is an area where I think this needs to start to advance over on the SmackDown side. And then in the main event, Cody with the win over Gunther. It was a bit of a slower paced match, but I think the story of like two of the best, or I guess by belt standards, the two best in the WWE going at it, you kind of needed a bit of that this is a big deal type of a pace to it. And so I thought it fit the story they were telling. And like I said before, I think Cody winning is the right call. Yes, Gunther does feel like a secondary champion right now. That belt has always felt secondary. I don't think Gunther winning this match was going to change that. I don't think it was all of a sudden actually Cody's not shit. Gunther is the number one guy in the WWE. No one was going to feel that. So you may as well just lean in with your guy and let him get rolling and let him have this historic first and continue with it that way. It doesn't take anything away from Gunther or anything like that. It is not a burial or anything along those lines. It is just Cody was the better guy and he ends up getting the win, and he is the biggest star in the company right now, so just go with it.